All right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Sunday, April 27th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Hey, I'm David. This is fun. I've never done this before. This is so cool.
My co-host, you know him from The Direct. You know him from the Cinema Spending podcast. You know him as our resident superhero expert. David Thompson is co-hosting the BO Boys for this episode. I couldn't be more tickled.
This is an honor. This is so cool. I feel so powerful. Wow. This is I am I feel like I'm not a wannabe anymore. I feel like I'm just a BO boy. This is so cool.
Now, David, you reached out to be on the show this weekend because obviously this is an unprecedented historic weekend. Pat is he's on a mission, and we'll see. He might pop in. We don't know. We'll see what state he is in. But that'll be interesting if it happens. If it doesn't, it'll be me and you, David, which I'm excited for. But did you expect to be co-host when you asked to be on the show? You thought you were just going to be a guest like you normally are and you do spectacularly at.
No, not at all. I expected to pop in, say my, 5 lines of dialogue about the MCU and complain about this and praise that and then get out of here. But no, this is much better. This is really exciting.
Yes. Now, let's just get to it. We have so much to talk about with you. We're also going to talk Thunderbolts because obviously that is a kickoff to the summer coming next weekend. But we can't look past this weekend, which
No.
I'm just going to, you know what? Okay, David, this is another thing that you were not expecting. Do you have the numbers in front of you for this weekend?
Top five.
Would you like to do a plow for this unprecedented weekend of April 25th, 2025?
Let's do it, man. Number 1. Let's go. Sinners. $45 million, a 6% drop for weekend 2. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2, Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith. That's right. 20 years later, $25 million this weekend. Number 3, The Accountant 2, the actual first initial release, weekend 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number 4, Holding On Strong, a Minecraft movie, $22 million. And number 5, Until Dawn, with $8 million.
Now, from that top 5, right? So let's not, I don't want to start negative, but I think we have to get it out of the way with Until Dawn, which is 8 million. This is a Sony picture, opened wide, like 3,000 screens. This is a video game movie. This is an adaptation of a popular video game I've never played, obviously, because I'm not a gamer. Have you played, David, at some point this game?
No, I've not.
Here, I feel like is a perfect example of how to do a video game movie wrong. Because all I'm hearing is that this movie did not serve the audience who would want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike a movie that at number 4, right, is at $22 million, down only 44% in its 4th weekend, and it's at $379.9 million. That is an insane amount, right?
Yeah.
And that's at number 4. When you're looking at this top 5, the top 4 all made over $20 million, which when is the last time we saw that?
It's so cool. I
yeah.
love seeing how I tweeted about this. I was like, it's like the Thanos meme, like balanced as all things should be, because it feels so balanced. Like everyone had something this weekend to go see, and it felt like theaters were like really alive. And almost, I would say specifically 3, but even The Accountant, is a big fan base behind that original movie that came out this weekend. Like a lot of just like general eventizing of these events. Like Sinners is kind of taking on this whole IMAX moment, which is so cool to see for an original film like this.
Yeah, and the thing that's great, and we'll get to Sinners in this, is spectacular hold. This 6% hold, which we were talking by the BO water cooler before the show, you believe will be lower, and I also believe by Monday it will be lower.
Yeah.
Like I think this. I mean, are we talking gains? I mean, could this be a Gaines situation? And we ain't talking Chris Gaines.
I genuinely think so. The more this is in my circles, at least, where this is the most word of mouth movie of the year so far, where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, go see this. Because no one really knew what it was about. I think marketing wise, it did a good job. And I think for those of
Yeah.
us paying attention, actually did like it showed too much personally. As someone who saw the film and really enjoyed it, I still thought like, I wish they didn't show us as much in the trailers. But
Yes.
generally speaking, this wasn't like I don't remember at least. I don't think it was like a Super Bowl commercial style like promotion from WB. And it seems like, as we're seeing in weekend two, the word of mouth is driving this so much. And it's not just, it's getting that kind of Oppenheimer-esque feel where it's like 70 millimeter, where it's not, oh, it's a really good movie, but see this on the biggest, baddest screen you can see. And it's not just because it has flying monsters and superpowers and lasers, stuff that I love, but
Yeah.
it's just because the cinematography and the filmmaking is so phenomenal. And I agree with that. I'm not a critic,
Huh.
but but I love this movie, and I do think there is something to that where in today's day and age, people want to maybe not go to the movies every weekend, but when they do, they spend top dollar to go see it in a really cool IMAX theater where they know when they leave, even if they don't even narratively like feel attached to it, it'll be a visual experience. And that's what we're seeing with Sinners right now.
I have seen a lot of talk about this movie in all places, obviously, but one of the things I keep hearing, and I saw this movie as well, is there is a moment in the moment, and everybody's talking about it. It's one of the best moments they've seen in a movie in a long time, but the aspect ratio changes in IMAX. If you see it in an IMAX presentation, you get more of an impact of this scene. And
Yeah.
that has been the buzz. There are people who have never spoken the word IMAX in their life that are talking about the aspect ratio change in IMAX. And
Right.
that's the sort of stuff that we need. We need everybody, the Joe Lunchpail, the Susie Crocheter, to be able to talk about PLFs. They need to know what PLFs are. They need to know what IMAXs are and that they need more of them.
Yeah. And
Because
it's not just to see Jurassic Park 5 or whatever.
no, like something like Sinners is doing Bafabobo on PLFs, and it needs to have more PLFs because it would do so much better if people could see it at that level, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that's great that you mentioned is that, something for everyone. But the other thing you're seeing is people who saw Sinners last weekend, it was a lot of males, and now you're seeing females going to see Sinners this weekend and the males going to see Accountant too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's these demographics that are now, flowing from week to week, right? So, oh, I heard this is good. I'm going to go see it. And somebody who'd already seen Sinners being like, you know what? I really enjoyed Sinners. I'll go see The Accountant.
Right.
And you need that sort of thing. And then you're going to have the thing that, you know, I don't think the Sinners crowd or the Accountant 2 crowd are necessarily clamoring to see Minecraft, but maybe they're a guardian of somebody who is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think there's that level of, if there's something for everybody, you're going to get that wide swath of demos.
And one thing with the demos on Minecraft for a second, if you just look at the competition, what's really the other kids option to go see right now? Like Sinners is the exact opposite of a child movie, a child
Yes.
appropriate movie. It is
Yes.
very adult, it's very R rated, right? And I think that right now, if it's like, oh, I'm taking my kid, maybe they're on spring break, who knows? Like, I'm taking my kid to the theater. Minecraft's the choice still, even if you're going to take the kid to see it again. Because by the way, your kid's going to love to go see Minecraft another time. It just feels like that type of movie that's just going to keep kids entertained hour after hour, and eventually on like HBO Max or whatever, hour after hour. And even if I have no idea what that movie is even about, I don't know anything about Minecraft. It's honestly, I've been wanting to say this. It's the first time a movie has had, I guess, Gentle Minions was kind of this for me, but it feels
Yes.
like the first time that a viral sensation for a movie is a generation below me, which makes me feel
Mm.
old. even
Yeah.
though it's like, I guess, I mean, I grew up with like Marvel and stuff and all of that, and that was really like my bread and butter. Now it's like Minecraft, really? Like, I get
Yeah.
Mario. I loved Mario. That's right up
Yeah.
my alley. But Minecraft, really? And it's still holding on strong. I love Jack Black, but man, it's amazing to see.
Well, then it just makes you think that this Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is going to be so massive.
I
Like,
agree. And
right?
that's, look at Until Dawn. Like, back to that, like going full circle here. I feel like in these video game adaptations, they have finally figured out, even in Uncharted to a certain extent, when you lean more heavily into what makes that game so great, even if maybe like the creative writers in Hollywood can't really like cook as much as they'd like to, they just
Yeah.
stick more so to, you even see in like The Last of Us right now on HBO, like, they can change things around and all that. But these movies, Mario, Five Nights at Freddy's, Minecraft, Uncharted, if they just stick to the content, makes a couple of tweaks, but really make it so it's for the gamers show up. Because, like, look out, ladies and gentlemen, gaming is a huge industry. And if you can just tap into those kids sweating on their PlayStation all night to get their butts out to seats in the weekend, have their parents drop them off in the mall, that's where the box office is. And that's what David Zaslav's sitting there like, his mind's exploding, and he's wondering why he hired James Gunn to make DC Universe when he could just have a Minecraft universe.
Yeah. Well, so and it's funny because you're totally right. And I mean, I lived through the, you know, 90s where every superhero movie or comic book movie was somehow weirdly bastardized by Hollywood people who didn't understand just give people what they want, which is they want the Avengers. Like when there was the ability to cross these characters over into other movies, it seems so mundane now, but that is insane at the time. As somebody who, when I was a kid, I was super into comic books, and that was what the Marvel universe and the DC universe was. It was crossovers. It was read this book and then read this book, right?
Yeah.
And that was the innovation, and that is sticking to superhero and comic book fandom and what they want, and look what MCU did with that. Video
Yeah.
game filmmakers have to understand the same thing. It's not gonna be the same as superheroes. It's not gonna have the same tropes and the same things that they're gonna wanna see, but you have to know how a gamer thinks in order to make a movie a gamer is gonna want. And so, I mean, we talked on a previous episode, and David, I know that you're an avid listener, about, you know, a gamer who has passed away, maybe from like a possible like Mountain Dew Co-Red induced heart attack,
Red
right?
40. Yeah.
Red 40 that is just he Red 40 maxed too much. And I'm gonna say he because of course it's a he, huh? And if the family of this person uh, would donate them to science so that they can be dissected, so they can dissect their brain
Yes.
and also dissect their intestines and see really what they want to ingest so that we can then have that available for them at concessions. Because
Right.
that's also the key here is concessions. We're seeing it with
Talkies.
people talk. I mean, but what if there was a talkie that was even more powerful? What like we really need to pump this up and make this an adventure, for people to go, these gamers, because they will throw things down their gullet that you would I mean, it would destroy your insides. I mean, I listen, you're a tough individual. I understand you're a true man, but I don't think your insides are probably delicate. I just get this from you.
Right.
I don't know why.
Mhm.
I'm the
Yeah.
same way. We're two peas in a pod here, David.
Mhm.
But those are the kind of things that we need to really crack that code and make sure that these gamers are going to be the next 15 years of moviegoers.
Yeah, I feel like we're heading in that direction. And I think on top of the snacks and what they ingest, they need to lean more into the collectibles as well. That's become a whole thing at theaters with Barbie, all these certain like I guess even Marvel stuff to a certain extent too, but like Dune, that was the big one
Yeah,
last
yeah.
year, and then the copying of all of that, and Deadpool and Wolverine, and they're doing some stuff with Thunderbolts, and I think Superman will probably lean into that a lot. Five Nights at Freddy's needs to lean into that heavily. Like, if you get the like Freddy Fazbear and all this shit. Like, if you just have that all be the popcorn buckets and like get one of those like canisters with like the like Monster Energies in the side and straws, let's do it, man. Like, they sell this stuff like crazy at theme parks. Why not at the movie theater when you're getting these kids that I genuinely feel like, oh, I'm going to go to 3 movies a year. What is it going to be? The video game movies that I care about, right? And like when they go, they're going to spend money. They're going to have their parents slip them a $100 bill and they're going to be like, all right, like I'm buying popcorn and candy and this and that and the Takis. And oh, by the way, I'll buy the freaking Jack Black sweater over there as well, because why not while I'm here? I don't go to the mall anymore. I spent all my allowance on V-Bucks. So here I am, or whatever. I don't know what they use in, I don't even know if Minecraft has that kind of thing, but I'm sure something like that.
Something like that. Exploit these IPs to such an extent that it would make Kiss look modest, right? You know, like a band like Kiss, there's coffins. They have everything. Kiss. These companies and these theaters should exploit these IPs to such an extent that it's gross and nearly pornographic. But that is what, and I love how you're saying people don't go to the malls anymore. Yeah, make theaters malls. Right. Make it so that they can shop there. Make it so that you buy a ticket to get in. There's an arcade there or whatever. We said to arcadeify your soda fountain. Right. Make it a controller, put a scoreboard up there to see like who scored the most points getting their sodies. These are things that should happen because you want to make the theater a place that's happening. And that can be segmented from, other areas of the theaters where maybe the people who want to see Accountant 2 or Sinners wants to go. You can make it so that the theaters that show these kid-centric video game movies get their own floor. Right?
Yeah.
Because you definitely could do that, and then you use another floor, and you make it a little bit classier for the people who wanna go see Sinners. They wanna see some of these, maybe the Oscar movies play in those theaters. That's a sort of, I don't wanna say like, I don't want a silo. I don't want people to feel like they're being excluded or whatever. But there's shops in the mall where adults go, and then there's shops in the mall where kids go, and there's no reason why theaters can't be the same way.
I'm with you, man. And I feel like that's kind of what we see naturally a bit, where like this weekend, these dumb kids are just they're going to whatever theater to see a Minecraft. But then we have the prestigious adults that read on Reddit that Sinners is the ooh la la, and we're going to go see it in 70 millimeter IMAX and sit front row and destroy our necks just to watch the movie in 70 millimeter. Like, and I saw it in IMAX and I enjoyed it. I did think it was actually a little distracting, the cut back and forth between the IMAX and like the widescreen. I'm like, this is it's a little jarring. It reminded me of like an old like DVD as a kid, but there's already that happening where, and like I was just talking to someone this weekend where they live in Los Angeles, and there's this new, I think it's Cinemark, where, because we're talking about all the different PLFs. It's like there's 40X, and there's Dolby, and there's IMAX, and there's like there's wind turbines and all this. And there's this one place where I guess there's someone might not know out there. I think it's a Cinemark screen in the front, and it's not side screens like this on the sides. It's like these little like hue lights that line up along the wall. So it's a peripheral. It's supposed to make your journey a little bit more peripheral, where you're not getting any more images in the sides, but the setting and the lighting is filling the entire room. They just keep trying to just throw shit at a wall and see if something sticks. And I appreciate it. I love trying out new formats. That's like one of my favorite hobbies, is to try a new theater that has a different, unique format that I've never been in before. And that even includes the dine-in style. Like, by the way, dine-in style, lean into that when it comes to all the video game stuff. Like, have surprises. People come out, they're already kind of chit-chatting and whispering around. Like, maybe that would have solved the whole chicken jockey madness, right? Where maybe they had to wait. The popcorn couldn't come out until post chicken jockey.
Yeah.
And then they got their popcorn, right? Like, that was, I mean, God bless all the AMC workers out there and Regal and Cinemark and all of them, because like such a brutal time. Do their bosses care? Is David Zaslav like, oh man, I feel so bad for these theaters? No, not one
Y-
bit. And I don't really either, quite frankly. And I'm sorry to say it.
I think the thing is that whatever puts the butts in the seats, I think you're doing at a movie. Like, I feel like if Sinners, there was stuff like that going on at Sinners, I don't think people would stand for it necessarily. Right? I think Minecraft's a movie where you can scream and throw things. I
They
mean, I
say
just think that,
vampire, and it's like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that that is the thing that, kids are gonna be kids, and the social media aspect is not going away, so you have to sort of embrace it.
yeah.
And
They should have the individual merch to like concerts. I think I've always said that. They should have like individual merch drops along with the merchandise, like the popcorn buckets. Like, why
yeah,
not? Why not
mhm.
sell a limited supply of t-shirts and sweatshirts and for every one of these like big premieres? It would go gangbusters, I have no doubt.
David, sell a sell a popcorn gun. Sell a popcorn cannon. Like, honestly, it's, you gotta, of course, you gotta make sure that it couldn't hurt people and it couldn't misfire. And, if some kid puts it up against his head, it's not gonna be like a situation where he's like blown his brains out with a wind tunnel. But make it so that can shove a bunch of popcorn in there and shoot it at the screen. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why not?
Figure out a better solution for cleanup, right? Like
Yeah.
change the floors, have some kind of other system, like
Yeah.
do something where it's recyclable popcorn. I don't know. We gotta make it where people kids can go have fun and let loose and be wild, even if it's just for a moment, and chicken jockeys happening and I am Steve and all this stuff. And like, look, I think Minecraft is completely ridiculous and silly. I'm still that guy when it comes
Yeah.
to Marvel movies. I'm hearing all this buzz about Thunderbolts and a special secret post-credit scene, which I'm like, la 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 la. I don't want to hear a thing about it. But do I want to walk out of that theater next week cheering and freaking out and buzzing and texting 15 people? Yes, I do. I might not throw popcorn, but I want to leave the theater excited. And I feel like, taking things all the way back, this weekend, so many people left the theater excited for all sorts of different reasons, even if it's also the movie I haven't talked about. A bunch of people my age with lightsabers out there dueling each other, just like it's 2005. It's just begging, hoping, pleading Anakin doesn't turn to the dark side. And once again, he does indeed.
Nice. So you're talking about our number 2 movie, shocking upset. Although I believe Kirk Minahan, podcast Jesus himself, was on our show last episode and will be insanely jealous that you are co-hosting. I do believe, because he has not had the pleasure of co-hosting yet.
It's a privilege.
Yet. I'm saying yet. He
Mhm.
will have the privilege at some point. But Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, he called it number 2, $25 million for a 20-year-old movie that was, it got a wide release, 2,775 theaters.
Mhm.
Uh, what is your relationship with these prequels?
Oh, it's great. Revenge of the Sith specifically is like one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I think it's great. Like, I know there is the first two I really don't like. Like, if I'm putting on like my critics hat, like I can be a
Huh?
pretty like I can be pretty negative towards them. I didn't get to see Revenge of the Sith yet. I hope to see it while it's still in theaters, because that's such a great. It's just so much fun to see these movies back in theaters. I saw the first movie I saw back during COVID was Empire Strikes Back, which was amazing.
Yes.
But going to see, like, for my generation, I was born in '98, so I was
Okay.
a kid when these were coming out. We love the prequels. We love Hayden. Like, we love Ian McGregor as Obi-Wan. Like, these are like, even though I know the older ones are better, like Empire is my favorite Star Wars movie, and the other two are better than the trilogy. Revenge of the Sith is amazing. Like, it has, and it, honestly, beyond the movie, it has such this incredible mystique, and just, it's so legendary. Like, seeing Anakin turn to the dark side, and just the way Anakin, Hayden Christensen's character, like his outfit and his hair, all of that. Like, I had people texting me in my life being like, "Hey, so when did the tickets drop for Revenge of the Sith?" Like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'll check it. I'll check in on that for you." And when they dropped, I let them know. But people were really excited for this. So yeah, I wasn't on to predict, but I am still definitely surprised by number 2. But I'm also not shocked, because I know the fan base is there, and so many people, by the way, we're starving for another Star Wars movie. I know we're about a year away from Mando and Grogu, but we are starving for a Star Wars movie. I think that actually had a big impact on this past weekend.
So, David, Pat is in the chat. I'm throwing him on. We don't know what sort of state he's in. So, this is unprecedented. We have Pat, the other BO boy, adding to the stage. Here we go.
Here he is.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys. We're YouTubers. Hey, guys. So I'm checking in real quick. First time, long time host, first time caller to my own show. I don't know what you guys have said about it, but I just had to jump in because this is one of the greatest weekends in the history of box office. And I couldn't, even as much as I love this couple, who I am celebrating right now, I'm celebrating a marriage of two great people. But people, I have to celebrate this box office weekend, not above the marriage, but at the level of.
Right.
Because
on par.
This is incredible. I cannot believe Sinners has done it. Have you guys said that this is historic? Have we established this is we've witnessed history this weekend?
We're going as far as that by Monday, it might be making more than weekend one.
Guys, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this, and it's not because I am 5 bourbons in. That is not why I'm touching my head right now and sweating. I am sweating because of Sinners' incredible second weekend. We're going to be talking about this to our grandchildren.
Yes.
Or if we don't have grandchildren, other people's grandchildren, we will be telling them about this weekend. We lived through one of the great box office weekends of all time. Is it 4 movies that made 20 million plus? Is that what's happened here?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
This is unbelievable. I cannot believe it. I'm not scheduled to speak at this wedding that I'm at tonight. I'm not scheduled. We're close, but not at the level where I'm scheduled to speak. I will grab the microphone at this wedding within the next hour, within 2 more bourbons, and I will talk about what happened at the box office this weekend. I will tell everyone at this wedding that Sinners had one of the greatest holds of all time, that Revenge of the Sith is one of the biggest re-release weekends we've ever seen, and that Ben Affleck's The Accountant has made more money than the original movie in its opening weekend. I will say all that at this wedding.
Pat, I think you do need to toast, and I do think that you need to say that may the two of you hold each other as well as Sinners held this weekend, and then just do a top 5 plow, like, just because I think it's unprecedented. Even if you just want to do a top 4, I mean, they don't really need to know until dawn, because that'll just bring people down. But I think that is, I think that is what you need to do.
I will mention Minecraft and Toast. I will not dwell on it because we're now 3-4 weekends in, so I only spend maybe 4 or 5 minutes at this wedding on the Minecraft movie. I will mostly focus on Sinners, The Accountant, and Revenge of the Sith re-release. That's what I'll focus on at this hijacking of the microphone at the wedding I'm at.
Now, Pat, I'm sorry, how inebriated would you say you are? Are you at Haley Joel Osment level, or are we okay?
I don't think I'm at a level where it'll make news yet, but I'm on my way to getting inebriated enough that I could wind up in the papers, which would be great.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to say that you normally wouldn't say?
You know what? I may call back, and if you guys are going long and you're doing another hour, I'll call back in an hour, 5 more bourbons in, and then I may say something that gets David the permanent hosting spot on the show.
Wow.
So we'll see. I do want to say before I go back to the wedding dance, they're playing Michael Jackson. Of course, you have to, which is great. Yeah. It's great for the movie. Whenever it does come out, they're still playing with the weddings and people love it. But I do have to say that Ryan Coogler, fully vindicated. Let's never speak again about, is this movie profitable? That ends today.
It ends with us.
It ends with us. That is the official, it ends with us. The talk about whether Sinners is profitable, it ends with us in the second weekend. Never want to hear that again. Never
Nope.
want to hear that again. It's over. It's over. It's over,
Johnny.
And I do think that this Revenge of the Sith re-release weekend, Kirk Minahan, Podcast Jesus, on our last episode, talked about how you got to get this Darth Vader spin-off movie going. I mean, come on.
Oh, please, God. Yes. Oh, my goodness. You guys have no idea. That would kill so much. You guys,
$100 million opening weekend. Easy.
They blew it with Obi-Wan. They absolutely blew it, making that a streaming series. That is one of my biggest box office what-if gripes of all time.
Yeah, it's Darth Vader. He's the hero now. It's 20 years later, 1,000 years later, whatever it is. There's a villain that's so evil, they don't know how to stop him. Do the Jurassic Park thing where there's some Darth Vader DNA floating in space. Grab it, bring him back. He's the hero. Get that movie into production next week, because that is what people want. So, guys, I got to get back to this wedding. I got to dance. I got to grab the microphone. I got to talk about Sinners and not talk about the couple, and they'll understand, because that's how historic this weekend is. And I'm going to go do that right now. So,
Pat, they knew who they invited to their wedding. They knew.
Yeah. They knew they invited a BO boy. And I've been talking about the BO boys, at all the events leading up to this wedding. So we've got several new subscribers that they're going to be excited to hear that I stepped out of the wedding to do my show. Right. When they hear this on the drive back home from the wedding, people are going to be so excited that this happened. And guys, have a great rest of the show. And that's it.
Nice, Pat. Thank you so much. Give them my love.
You got it. Their love will be given along with the top 5 of this box office weekend.
Love it.
Bye, Pat.
Bye, Pat. All right. So that was Pat. Giving Michael Jackson some love, oddly. But you know what I'd say about that is that they are looking for a third act for that movie. So maybe the third act will be that wedding where they're playing Michael Jackson. So
it'll be 7 bourbons in. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. But obviously, Pat, that was also unprecedented. Have never had that sort of call in before. I think it was absolutely worth it.
He nailed it, we can say. Yeah.
He absolutely nailed it. And I mean, this Revenge of the Sith, or I was trying to look at how the other re-releases did, and I think
I had one thing. I don't know if you had this pulled up. The 2012, I think, Phantom Menace 3D re-release was, I think, the biggest beyond this one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, because let's see. I'm trying to find the numbers. Numbers isn't being kind right now.
Re-releases are weird, by the way, because it honestly hasn't been until kind of recently where they've made these full studio wide releases. There's been times where you can kind of have those fandom events or small releases, and they add those to box office numbers on different websites, and it makes it really confusing to follow.
Yeah, and they're not as wide as they should be,
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking up this Phantom Menace.
I wonder the effect that this has on future re-releases. I mean, this is Revenge of the Sith 20 years later is a home run. That's a great thing to re-release in theaters, very wide like this. Star Wars also, like I said, that I think is something that's being under commentated on, is the fact that we have not had a Star Wars film since 2019. And the fact that we got a very close to May the 4th be with you, a Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversary. And it's a perfect time as well because Disney and Star Wars, Lucasfilm have kind of re-embraced the prequels. The animation has kind of lifted it up. The new live action series, and I mean, Obi-Wan, it didn't do great, but it still also, it gave, younger audiences kind of a new chance of these characters. The Ahsoka series, this was a perfect mixture. But I still do think Star Wars, maybe even Marvel, but just in general, big blockbuster franchises, they could take note of this and do the same thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, over the pandemic, and I know the studios were over a barrel because they didn't have a new product and they didn't want to release new product to 0 theaters or, 100 some theaters nationwide. But you saw Jurassic Park did really well being released in the year of COVID because people wanted to go to the theater and they wanted to see things that they knew they loved. And like
Yeah.
Jurassic Park is one of those movies that every 5 years you probably could release in theaters and it would do really well.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember I saw Back to the Future, I think on its 35th anniversary, if I'm doing that math correctly.
mhm.
And it was, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. It was a packed theater and everyone was like having a blast. It was so fun. It's my favorite movie ever. And I've seen it so many times. And it was it's a really cool experience when you didn't grow up with a movie if you weren't born yet and you never got to see it in theaters. And then you get to have that experience of the shared enjoyment, the shared laughter, the shared cheers. Like, there really is something that you can tap into that. I mean, of course, the theaters are all for. Like, I mean, that's almost the biggest winner of this are the movie theaters themselves.
Well, that's the thing, and these studios have to give these theaters a good deal on these re-releases because it's great promotion for just other movies. That's the thing, is if you get a this movie into theaters, and these are people that maybe don't go see new movies. Maybe they're watching the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. They'll see a Marvel here and there. They see a trailer for a movie that entices them. That is worth it for the studio to give better rates for these re-releases and these catalog films because you can advertise right before them. That's the other thing. Like, that's the piece you got to remember is that when people go and they sit, there's no, I mean, they can be on their phone and stuff, but people do watch the trailers. And if
Yeah.
something catches them, they'll pay attention to it. You saw it with Maverick. When Maverick came out, every movie that had, Elvis was a great example. Elvis
Yeah.
had a trailer before Maverick, and Elvis did Baffa Bobo because people were like, "Oh, I didn't know that movie was coming out. I'm gonna go see it." And Sinners is gonna be that movie too, and so is Minecraft. So like
Mhm.
Sinners, the trailers before Sinners, that is like Super Bowl commercial time.
Yeah. Value. Yeah.
Value. That value is so high, and same thing with Minecraft. The value for that is so, so high. Now,
I
you're right about this re-release. Sorry, real quick.
Yeah.
The Phantom
No.
Menace, February 10th, 2012, $22.4 million.
Okay.
That was a big opening. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was
But
a 3D gimmick as well. So this almost kind of
yes.
tells more of the testament to just the fandom and the release itself. Whereas in 2012, 3D was such like this interesting, oh, this is the future. And obviously it wasn't. But I think there's a little bit more of that juice added to it too.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were talking, PLFs and IMAX are the actual future because they're sustainable. They're not a gimmick. They're the
Yeah.
best way to see. They're the best way to see movies. Truly, that and like Dolby and those. I mean, PLFs are the way to go. So, anything else on Star Wars Episode 3?
The only thing I have, just to reiterate, I think that this is going to have a bigger impact on the future of Star Wars movies than maybe people are anticipating right now. If it's re-releases, if it's the movies they put out, like Pat brought up, the Darth Vader movie, however you do that, there's something to it where I know this is a very big time Marvel thing, where it's like, and this is all they're doing right now, essentially with their big stuff, besides Fantastic Four, is like to bring in old OG original cast members. Maybe that's something that Star Wars dips their toes in even more than they've already been doing. But they've been doing it on Disney Plus is the problem. Like that's the issue is they've been doing it on Disney Plus, whereas the nostalgia plays, as much as we can kind of hate them from time to time and how, boring and just kind of cheap it is. That's what makes Sinners so exciting, by the way. How boring and cheap that can be. It works, man. People are nostalgic. That Inside Out 2 scene of them trying to close off nostalgia in the corner, they did that on purpose, and everyone laughed at it, at least everyone that was like over 18 or 20 or whatever, because nostalgia is a huge part of our emotions, and people love that stuff. They love to go relive their childhood when, life was better, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, nostalgia used to be, back when soldiers fought and were away from their family, nostalgia was a disease. That was something that was diagnosed. And it still is a disease, but boy, does that disease make money.
Oh, yeah.
And we're all afflicted with it at some, it's, yeah, I think we all have it to some extent, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that, if you are able to take a disease and make money off of it, I don't think there's anything more American than that, right?
Right. It's like, it's when Andrew Garfield popped out of the portal in No Way Home. Like it was just a hit. It was a shot.
Yeah.
It was a moment. I would have paid, I don't know how much I would have paid to be able to experience that. I only had to pay the $20, but
Yeah.
I would have poured out my wallet, my savings, my everything to be able to experience that in a big theater.
With nostalgia, we're all bug chasers.
Yeah.
Now, quickly, I don't want to talk too much about it, even though it does deserve respect. Is The Accountant 2,
Mhm.
which made 24.4, got upset by Star Wars, which, I mean, listen, if you're going to lose to a movie, it's like Star Wars. That's
Mhm.
one of those things that I wouldn't be upset losing out to. And especially because it's so close, it could flip flop. Although I do think maybe more people will have watched. I think on Monday we're going to see Star Wars having a bigger lead here, but
Mm.
it did better than the first by oh, no,
Barely,
actually,
right?
but no, I think it did less. It did, a couple 100,000 less than the first one, but
Oh, okay.
honestly, with the competition and with the fact that this is almost 10-year-old IP,
Yeah.
and, these sort of movies usually open in, like, the 16 to $17 million range. This is a nice, tidy opening for this movie. I think, if you're Ben Affleck's people, if you're John Barenthal's people, you are happy about this opening.
Absolutely. No, I was actually really surprised to see like it's a very solid opening, about $25 million. Like that's nothing to sniff at. I genuinely think that the marketing for this was actually like pretty decent, at least from my perspective, where I don't think they poured out too much money, but Ben Affleck had a pretty decent press tour where he was active. He was putting in the time. And I think that's really what this movie needed to get to this number. And it kind of pays off. Like I feel like there's been a lot of analysis lately when it comes to Sinners and other original movies, where if the studio puts in the money towards the marketing, it will do well. And I think The Accountant, it got Ben Affleck out there. It got him
Yes.
talking to people. It got him running articles on our website, The Direct, about his experience playing Batman. And, someone reads that and they follow the link to the article or the YouTube video. And it's like, oh, he's promoting his new movie. Like, this is how things go. And when you're someone like Ben Affleck, who's been in so many movies and had such a celebrity life and interest from film fans to comic book fans, just to like Hollywood life fans, him getting out there and putting in the time, putting in the effort and answering all the questions, I think is what gets The Accountant 2 to 24 million.
Oh, he was I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube. YouTube is the new TV. We're YouTubers, hey guys. And, he did this. I can't remember who it's for, but it was actors talking about every role that they
GQ, I
played.
believe.
Was it
Yeah.
GQ? I thought it was GQ. I mean, the guy's sitting there talking about school days.
Yeah.
He's talking about everything. So,
Yeah.
this is a guy, if you're getting him talking about school days, he is open for business. He's a guy
That's
who is talking to people, and you gotta do it, and he knows. He's a lifer. I mean, he adapts, he's moving with the times. Even though this is a dad movie, he went about promoting it as not a dad movie in the
yeah.
sense that he was online, he was doing the GQ stuff. He was probably, I mean, I don't know if him and Barenthal did anything for Lad Bible. I don't know if they ate snacks. I hope they did. Maybe that's coming out next weekend. Who knows?
Yeah.
Sometimes they release those after. I don't know why Lad Bible. It's probably because maybe the UK release is different. But
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, this is a nice tidy sum and
And they
good.
even asked him about his good buddy Matt Damon, his new Odysseus physique,
Yep,
the natty or not physique for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. It's an
yep.
exciting topic that I'm glad that Ben Affleck, weighed in on.
These crazy kids. Now, we talked about Sinners at the beginning. I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation because who
We
knows
got to
how
talk
high.
about. I gotta have to ask you a question here, Clayton.
Of course.
From my perspective, David Zaslav had Pam Abdi and Michael DeLuca. I believe that's their names. the heads of Warner Brothers, the current heads of Warner Brothers.
Yes.
He was holding on to both of their collars as they were hanging off a cliff. And they were standing there with their hands waving, saying, wait. We have a Minecraft. And he saw that opening and he saw the chicken jockey and he kind of pulled him back in a little bit, right? Where it was gone from completely perpendicular to 45-degree angle. And then they go, hold on. That's not it. Ryan Coogler. And then he's like, that's Marvel. That's a Marvel thing. And he leaned him over a little bit more. And they said, hold on. It's Michael B. Jordan. That's also Marvel. No. Yeah. Just wait and see. And the first weekend happened. And he pulled him up real high, but still held on. He was still a little bit, threatening. This weekend saved their jobs. David Zaslav, for the first time, is like, you know what? This might work. Original films might be the way to go. We should be so reactionary, right? Like, this is the whole thing. I feel like Warner Brothers are so reactionary. But if they're going to react to anything, react to this. React to Ryan Coogler. React to Sinners. Because this is the essence of what I think film goers complain about, want all the time. And it's actually paying dividends. So shout out to them. They saved their jobs.
Yes,
thank you, David Zaslav, for sparing them their lives as the heads of Warner Brothers.
Yeah, and he gets a lot. I mean, you're seeing all these articles, and we got an email or I think a YouTube comment or some. We're on all the platforms,
right?
But about how are we too hard on Zaslav? No, because he's a bozo. Because these are the people. Those are the people who stuck their neck out and put their jobs on the line for Mickey 17, for for this movie, for Sinners. And it's like, in a perfect world, your Sinners pay for your Mickey 17s, right? Because that's how it goes, is that not everything's going to hit. And of course, listen, Mickey 17 is going to make money in the long run downstream. It's going to be watched a ton on Max. Like, there's opportunities for it to make money. Obviously, would we wish it would have done better in the theaters? Of course we do. But they're not all going to be hits. They're not all going to be home runs. When you have something like a Sinners, which is a grand slam home run, you can't cut off the possibility that you could have another one, right?
Yeah.
And you use your Minecrafts and you use your Supermans and you use your IPs to shore that up so that you can have these things. As much as I'm not a superhero fan, those movies are part of the ecosystem. They shouldn't have been the whole ecosystem. That was the problem. They became the whole ecosystem, and they need to be part of the ecosystem, right? Because they can't just be the apex predator, because you can't have an apex predator. I think video games should be part of the ecosystem. I'm not asking for them to be apex predator, because that is a bad way, because then when video game things aren't the thing, you have too many years of fumfering and flopping around to find the next thing.
Right. Well, that's what we're seeing this weekend, is like, there shouldn't be an apex predator.
No. And there should be big smashes and like solid hits and all these different things. Mm-hmm. But you're seeing two blockbusters, Minecraft and Sinners, living in harmony together. And like, just to talk about this drop. So the two horror movie drops that have been better than this, or not better than this. It's actually better than Get Out, which was down only 15%. But then they talk about Hard Eyes being up. I think Hard Eyes went up that next weekend, but Hard Eyes opened to a very low number. Yeah. So Hard Eyes going up was a big deal, up 19%. But Hard Eyes opened in the single digits. So that is not something. I mean, obviously, a hold is a hold is a hold. But this Sinners hold is unprecedented, and I just think like this is a movie that we're going to be talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
We're not going to see this again anytime soon. A Sinners hold like this, it just doesn't happen. It doesn't like, to your point with Hard Eyes, where a movie opens to 40+ million, and this is the hold. And like we've been conjecturing on today's podcast, it might even be better. It has that momentum where it's like, everyone was going to see Sinners this weekend. This was a less busy weekend than Easter last weekend. Like, if you put it in that context, more people had free time to go to the movies than they did last weekend because they were more, not with family, that kind of idea. It was an in-between week. There wasn't, no offense to the accountant too, there wasn't a big hitter coming out. Thunderbolts wasn't quite stealing the IMAXs yet. It was like also credit to Sinners with the distribution plan. Perfect timing. Kind of a weird spot in Easter. It worked. It worked wonders. Like the same idea last weekend where you could go see Sinners, you could go see The King of Kings, you could go see Chosen. It was for everyone, right? Like the Jews and Gentiles alike could go to the movie theaters last weekend, and it still continues on here in April. By the way, just shout out April 2025, one of the wildest box office months we've had in years. And who would have thought that? Just this random month with like a few big releases, the kind of the shot in the dark. Pat's first overall pick in our box office draft was a Minecraft movie. Slam doink, as we'd say.
It's slam doink. Yeah. And so the, wannabe VP of interns, Christopher, was maybe going to be on this episode. He's graduating, he's busy, in classes. But tonight he's going to see Sinners because he's been busy, and he said, listen, put me down, because of course he's in like a perpetual cake stand. The kid's always when he's not cutting and posting clips for our social media, which he does such an excellent job, he's upside down sucking on that sweet teat, right? And he was like, put my fucking legs down, because he's like, they're rushing, so they're like, they're scum to him. They do what he says. They're pledges. And so he was like, put me down. I'm getting off this cake stand to see Sinners because I have to. So that's where he is right now. We're going to get his boots on the ground. We're going to get his thoughts. I'm very curious about those thoughts. But yeah, it's a total happening. And it is something that we're going to be talking about for a very long time. And we're probably going to be talking about during Oscar season, a huge blockbuster that will hopefully be in contention for the biggest prizes to maybe get some eyeballs on those awards.
It's one of those where it's constantly with the award season. It's like, it made a lot of money. It's probably pretty commercial, right? Let's not vote for it. Like this has to break through that, man. Like it has to take the quite frankly, the Christopher Nolan route, where it's like, it's Chris Nolan. Oh, that means it was quality. That means that it was actual real filmmaking, even though it made $1 billion about Oppenheimer. Like, sure, we'll give it all the awards. I mean, I know this is not going to do Oppenheimer box office, nor will it do its Academy Award run.
No.
But it should at least get nominations. I mean, I personally think that Ryan Coogler for sure, but Michael B. Jordan, it's his best performance, quite frankly. Like, he's been doing, like, he took over Rocky. He was in Black Panther. He's done all this. He's done all that. He had a dual performance. And the fact that they went out and like, that is quite the gimmick. It's gimmicky, quite frankly, for filmmaking. It was seamless and people love it. And people love the two different characters that he's playing. Like, there is a testament to that where he could, like, that would be such a cool nomination for playing two different roles.
Yep. Nominate him twice. Nominate him. Put him against himself for Smoke and Stack. And here's the thing: is that this succeeded after Alto Knights. The Alto Knights failed, 2 De Niro's and 17 Robert Pattinsons. So this was. I mean,
what is with that this year? What's going on?
No, but there's something in the water. But Sinners made that poisoned well drinkable again.
Yeah.
So speaking of a possibly poisoned well that could be drinkable again, let's talk Thunderbolts, right? Because the buzz, and listen, I was texting with some people who are hearing great buzz about this Thunderbolts asterisk. And my fear here, and you are the expert when it comes to superheroes, you're a superhero correspondent. I want the straight dope from your mouth to my ears and our listeners' ears. Is this a Flash situation? Is this hype that is unfounded?
That is an excellent question. The way you
Thank you. I'm an excellent host.
Yeah. Comparing it to the Flash is fascinating because I think from where the positive reactions are coming is a bit more organic for Thunderbolts.
Okay.
However, the big difference in general, it's called Thunderbolts Asterix, and that was The Flash. That was The Flash's only movie, and that was a long-awaited, one of the most iconic comic book characters of all time, one of DC's biggest names. And these are the ragtag. You thought the Guardians of the Galaxy were an odd bunch in 2014. This is the oddest, wildest group of, quite frankly, beyond Bucky and Yelena, Sebastian Stan, and Florence Pugh. Throwaway MCU characters. Just MCU characters that are just like ancillary. They're there. Like people, not beloved characters by any means. So when comparing them, I think that there was no real pressure for this to do great business or do great, not business. Excuse me. I recant that. To do great critically, because it's the Thunderbolts,
Yes.
like there's something to it where it's like you're not expecting that much from it, which I think will work heavily in its favor. I think with Captain America 4, there was a big pressure behind it. The buzz was all mediocre to negative. It wasn't great. I liked it okay. It was one of those like kind of down the middle, but also not awesome and not really as good as the first 3 with Chris Evans. So with this one, it's brand new. It's random IP. And by the way, a big talking point that not a lot of people keep mentioning, this is the marquee MCU release date. They lost it last year. They didn't have a movie to release here. This is the one. They poured a lot of money into this. Do I think it's going to be the biggest movie of this summer? No. Do I think it'll be as big as the July slate? No. But yes, I do believe it's going to make money, make more than Captain America Brave New World, and that the positive buzz, and especially come Thursday, Friday, when it's actual fan reactions and there's maybe a virality to the post-credit scene or different elements to it, it could be a really big movie to open number 1 this upcoming weekend and add. Well, it won't be anything. It was not going to set the world on fire like a Minecraft movie. Add a little positive momentum heading into Fantastic Four, which is the linchpin critical point in the MCU. Thunderbolts is going to be awesome. It's in the marquee spot. I'm excited to see it, as well as a lot of MCU fans. The pressure's not that big on that one, though, right? That is the Thunderbolts. They're kind of not throwaway, but they're kind of, they could perish and it might be all right. But like I said, besides Sebastian Stan and besides Florence Pugh, the other ones are a bit expendable. And beyond that, we'll see. Like I feel like we're recording this, obviously, this is a preview a week ahead. It feels like word of mouth is going to be very important. The opening's probably not going to set the world on fire either, because it is kind of a ragtag team. But this has the potential to hold through May to Memorial Day weekend, and I think a major way.
So could this possibly be, and I know it's not going to open as low, as something like when the Pixar movie opened. What was
Lightyear?
that? What was it? What did you say?
Lightyear? Elemental?
No, Elemental.
Yeah.
When Elemental opened, and it opened so low.
Yeah,
and that
right.
was when Pixar was at its lowest. It seemed commercially or artistically bankrupt. Something that I floated across our once and never again guest Matt Maloney, who yelled at me on my own show about me saying that maybe their best days were over. But that was a movie that I will admit had legs, and people found it, and it didn't reach the heights of some of the other originals, but it definitely did enough to make you be like, does Pixar have a stronger heartbeat than I expected? Thunderbolts could be the same thing. Now, obviously at a higher level, because this looks like it's going to open to 67 or 70. But we're talking about a world where Ant-Man Quantumania opened to over 100. And that was, you know what I mean? Like, that's one of those things. Now, that was the sort of the death knell of that phase of the MCU. So I'm looking at these opening weekends and where this would place if it opens at that number, which you think it's going to be higher, and we'll talk about it. If this opens 65 to 70, it puts it under Eternals, and Shang-Chi, but over the original Thor, the original Captain America, the original Ant-Man, the Incredible Hulk movie, and the Marvels, which is the
Marvels,
lowest.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Which obviously we've said a million times, Quantumania is the reason why people didn't like the Marvels, because they were just so, and Black Adam, it was just the worst time to put out superhero movies that weren't spectacular, right?
And Secret Invasion, by the way, throw that out there. Not a
Yeah.
movie, but really had a huge impact on that.
Honestly, it really, really did. So I do think that the creatives behind the Marvels really got really effed with that. It is not on them, and I will go to my grave saying that. I'll say that on my death. I mean, I'm gonna say so much on my deathbed. It's gonna take a lot. You know, I'm gonna have a court stenographer sort of shorthand it so that people can send it to all my loved ones. But yeah, so what is your take on Thunderbolts? Where do you think it will open? You're saying higher.
So here's one thing that everyone's forgetting too.
Okay.
About a month ago, 3 weeks ago, all of a sudden, I'm at work. I work, I'm on work. I'm online. And hey, we're hearing tomorrow there's going to be some huge MCU announcement. What? What are you guys talking about? We just recorded a podcast. Okay, like we'll see. 9 a.m., 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. We'll see. Why would they do? What could this possibly be? Here comes Chris Evans' chair. We're sitting there,
famous,
and we're like, okay, Chris Evans, Thor 5. No, there's Vanessa Kirby. What? And there goes 5.5 hours of my life and watching the chairs assemble, as some may say. Robert Downey Jr. shows up, which we all know. I was there in the building. Comic-Con, it was a good time.
Yep.
And everyone says, hey, that spoiled the Thunderbolts. But what you're also forgetting is that made people understand and even notice the Thunderbolts exist, and the Thunderbolts are coming, and the Thunderbolts matter to the future of the MCU. And they are coming back. And Sebastian Stan's coming back. And Florence Pugh is coming back. And you can get real excited to go see the Thunderbolts this summer because they'll be back with Downey, with Hemsworth, with Ian McKellen and James Marsden and Sonic next summer for Avengers Doomsday. And so I think in terms of fans, it was a turnoff because, like I said, kind of spoiled Thunderbolts maybe a tad. I don't give a shit about that, honestly, because we all kind of know how that movie was going to go. It is going to make this movie money. I think it was genius for not only Doomsday, but also for Thunderbolts, because all of a sudden, I think since then, and they've taken up the marketing a lot as well, there's been a whole different idea of what this movie is going to mean. There's been the whole narrative around the MCU has been, the connectivity has been all off. And how are we going to have an Avengers 5 next May? Right? How are we going to get there? You can't watching Daredevil and, we're just seeing this and then Captain America, even it doesn't really set anything up. Now Thunderbolts can be that for people. And I think if more so than, oh, it's a good movie, it is, oh, this is required reading for Avengers Doomsday. That I think is going to be what gets people out to the theaters more so than even Florence Pugh and Sebastian Stan. So overall, I think over 70, I'd say over 80. 88 million was the Captain America 4 number. I know Disney wants to go obviously over 88 million. I don't think that happens because of just the name recognition. But I do think around, I would say as high as 85 million is possible for Thunderbolts. I think people are underestimating it, quite frankly.
Great. Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where I think if you are a fan of superheroes or comic books in general, Thunderbolts, they canonically are not what they seem. You know what I mean? Like that was the origin of them, is that they're not what they seem. It's not going to be the same thing as it was in the comic books, but it's going to be something, especially with the asterisk. So the people who know, they're not going to they're going to know something was up and something was going to happen anyway. And the people that aren't in the know aren't going to care other than, like you said, oh, okay, so I'm going to see these characters again at some point if I want to see Avengers, which is the tentpole of the Marvel universe. So they are going to see, if they're going to see any Marvel movie, they're probably going to see the Avengers, right? So I do think it doesn't matter if it spoiled anything, because the people who know anything about comic books were already spoiled, at least a little bit, right?
Yeah, and like the recent trailers, they did the classic MCU move of like showing old footage. They showed Scarlett Johansson, they showed Chris Evans. They made those connections to people to, once again, the play on nostalgia, the play on,
Yeah.
hey, this matters. You know these characters, like especially Sebastian Stan, an MCU OG, like OG of OGs, is still kicking in the MCU and kicking ass. Like that, I think, is enough, especially where Sebastian Stan is in his career, where he has such a wide fan base, not only as Bucky, but just as an actor. He helps a lot too.
Yeah. If this opens to 85, it'll be somewhere in the market of over Black Widow and Doctor Strange 1 and Thor Dark World. So 85 would be cousins to that. And listen, if this opens as big as the first Doctor Strange, I mean, these characters are at the level of, that sort of character, like the Ant-Man level characters that aren't in a bigger movie. Like Quantumania was a larger movie than it just itself. And
Definitely.
so I think this wouldn't be a bad opening for this movie if it gets to 85.
And even Ant-Man Quantumania was playing on our emotions of, this is Kang the Conqueror. He's going to be the Avengers 5 at that time, main villain. This matters. This once again, there is such an element of, oh, this actually matters.
Yeah.
There really wasn't that with Captain America 4. It didn't matter,
Yeah.
like it was. And I hate to say that, because like, sure, it mattered, quote unquote, but in terms of the narrative to the setup of the next Avengers movie, the next event crossover, it really didn't. And they have, since Captain America 4, I think very wisely, made it abundantly clear that Thunderbolts is that. It's not just Fantastic Four, because that was kind of the assumption we were all under, that Fantastic Four in many ways will somehow set up Avengers 5. And now it seems to be a two-parter where maybe it's more so Fantastic Four, but still, Thunderbolts is going to be a big chapter in this. The cast is back in Avengers. They're going to be key players. Go check it out if you want to know what's really happening next summer.
Yeah. Whatever
We'll
happened to that Kang guy? Thank you. David, thank you. You've done such a good job co-hosting. I'm glad that Pat, 5 bourbons in, he said, did not go on mic, jump on here and berate you for trying to steal his job. You never said anything about that. You were just a perfect gentleman. And, I hope he understands that. And I think he will. Real quick before we leave, has Jar Jar Binks been vindicated?
I think so. I think the actor was just that Star Wars Celebration. I feel like, he's back. He's better than ever. There's something to it. Yeah.
Does that warm your heart? Does that make you feel like no matter what happens, if you just stick around, your time will come?
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I think especially in a world where we forget so easily. We're like, oh, time and place, right? Oh, that's not so bad. We watch something, we experience something in our minds, and then time goes by and it's like, was it really that bad?
Mm-hmm.
Was it really that good too? Was it really that great?
Both ways.
And if you don't go back and revisit those things, you can just kind of, put to bed that understanding of maybe it wasn't so bad, maybe it wasn't so good, and just rest on that. And I think that's where we are with Jar Jar Binks at this point.
It warms the cockles of my heart to hear that. David, where can all of our Wanna-Be-O boys, Wanna-Be-O girls, Wanna-Be-O people find you and your work, your great work, God's work?
Yes, God's work. Thank you. Yeah. All social media at David Thompson with 2 A's in the David. I'm on thedirect.com, the Direct podcast. We post right now. We're going through Andor reviews and Monday news shows, little box office here and there from, of course, yours truly. And then also On the website, I recently, speaking of box office, you guys might be interested in this out there. I recently wrote a in-depth piece on every MCU franchise ranked by box office order. It's all just, going over each franchise from Avengers to Iron Man, Thor, and it's a really fun comparison. I highly recommend just checking it out. Obviously, it's a decently long piece. I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, it's like the top. It's on our website, but like top 11 MCU franchises ranked by box office, and of course, you'll see my name in the byline.
I love it. I love it, David. So obviously you can find us on all the social media platforms. You can email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think Thunderbolts is going to do. I think at the beginning of next episode, us, Pat, me, Jeff Bach, because we're going to be doing our big summer double issue preview. I think we'll throw out our Thunderbolts numbers at the beginning of that show. So that's something to look forward to. We are currently still on X. I am not a fan, so I know there's things going on over there. I stay out of it. One of BO VP of interns, Christopher, he's upside down most of the time, but he is also doing the vertical clips for us. Maybe that helps. Who knows? But he is doing God's work as well. And so check us out there. And the Substack is coming back. We are really going to try and focus on that this summer, really put some stuff out there.
Let's go. Big summer for it.
Big summer for, I mean, listen, you're here writing about every single franchise in the MCU and its box office. And how do we not try to take what you're doing and try to get a little bit close? I mean,
a little inspiration.
Yeah. It's so inspiring. So that's it, David. I think we've done it all.
I think that's everything.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything left to be said except for until next time. We'll smell you at the box office.